Ford's not selling these cars because they're not selling them. They're literally giving them away. That's right. They're basically tossing these cars to the consumer, say, look, you can have them. We have way too much inventory. I actually browsed across Car Gurus, did a full nationwide look. In Canada, we're into the thousands. In the United States, there's over 12,000. There's almost 13,000 units available to brand new 2022, 23s, and 24s. As a matter of fact, the brand new Ford Mustang Mach-E, while they're going to brag it up that they're selling vehicles like hotcakes, like they're going out left, right, and center, then you just ask yourself a simple question. Why do they have to incentivize these vehicles so aggressively? Why do they have to give 0% finance 5 years for 6 years? Why do they have to give all these interest rate incentives to the buyers to actually buy these vehicles? Did you know the latest deal now? You can actually get a brand new 24 0% financing for 5 years. That's right, 60 months. That's actually gone up. So they had it originally a 3 or 4 year finance program at 0%. Normally it was 0.9%. And you can still get a great deal on the brand new 2023s with 0 miles. They're offering those up to 72 months. That's 6 years for 0% just to get rid of the old stock, because there's so much old stock of 2023s floating around. And yet Ford's bragging that they're the second best selling SUV on the market, electric space. Obviously next to only the Tesla Model Y, which they say is the best-selling electric vehicle on the market. And Ford, while they're going to be capitalizing on the use of some of the charging stations, and a lot of customers don't always want that base look inside of a Tesla where it looks basically like a flat panel, at least Ford's bringing a little bit of standard and quality to the interior of the finishing of these vehicles, and you get a multiple different model trims. But we also know, Elon's been trying to push the Tesla product Model Y, knowing that Ford's trying to bear down pushing the Mustang Mach-E, and so they're both battling for number one spot. But it seems like it's a fight for last place, and it's literally a dive bomb to the bottom of the barrel. Because at the end of the day, all they do is continually price cut each other. You've got Tesla dropping prices, slashing left, right, and center. In the meantime, a lot of the owners that bought them about a year or 2 years ago on the Model Y are now seeing all these price cuts a year or 2 years later, and saving, $5,000 or $10,000 off of what Joe Blow did a year ago, and now they're feeling abandoned and isolated. And that's actually starting to happen over at Ford now too, where people were paying top dollar for these vehicles, paying the higher interest rates, getting fully engulfed in the cost of ownership of these vehicles. Now along comes all these heavy incentives. Yeah, you've got the red carpet deals and the lease deals, and Ford's throwing all kinds of incentives. But the biggest incentives are buying incentives. Yes. So think about this for a second. On a $36,000 entry level, you can get into a base Mustang Mach-E for $1,000 a month, which is a huge, almost an obscene amount of money to pay on a monthly payment for a car. But think about this, a brand new Mustang Mach-E, people are getting used to paying $1,000 a month. The industry average, we're up to about 14, almost 15% of the average car loans now, people are paying over $1,000 a month. So you can join the $1,000 club if you want and get yourself into a Mustang Mach-E for 3 years though, and you could have it paid off toot sweet and have $0 financing going to the lending institutions or the banks. But that tells you one storyline. Nobody's buying them. And as much as Ford and all of the advocates for these electrical vehicles go, they're going to continue piping saying, oh yeah, electric sales are up and they're going. But unless you really need to have one, clearly people aren't buying them. Why would you incentivize a vehicle that's not selling? But Ford, in fact, is incentivizing heavily. And they weren't even selling up until some recent major price slashes that Ford's been offering up. Now that's all of a sudden we're seeing see some of the movement in the industry. Ford's bragging that they've got the best-selling electric full-size truck. Well, how many of those are there actually on the market? The Tesla Cybertruck is not really a truck. It's sort of an oddity of sorts, a bit of a spaceship of types, but you know what? There's those that have to have them. And then they're, of course, they're obscene amount of money, and they had all kinds of markups. So naturally, people weren't buying them. And if people wanted to try the electric truck space that was electric, yeah, you would go to the Ford, Lightning, and unfortunately those buyers, they drove them for a year or they leased them and they realized after about a year, yeah, you know what, it's not meeting the intent. So nobody's buying these cars. And as a matter of fact, according to Cars Direct, we're seeing a 400% increase in the buying incentive. That's right, discounts that are also applied to these cars because the Ford Mustang F-150, the Ford F-150 Lightning isn't selling, and those that had to get rid of those because they couldn't afford it or they didn't like the range being 220 miles range, they just had enough of that. It just wasn't making sense. So they sell them and then nobody's buying them or they tried to trade them in. And now if you look on the used car market like I have, you're finding a lot of these are discounted so heavily on the used car market that you're actually finding they're chopped down by 40 or 50% of what they were new. If you're lucky and you get a Lariat version, you get a high spec version, you might get one that's discounted after a year and you might, see a loss of about 30%. But the Mustang Mach-E's are not selling all that well either. And there's a few different configurations. And with a 400% increase in discounts, $7,500 off of the price of a vehicle, then of course you start talking about 0% financing, and there's all kinds of incentives. And so the base Mustang Mach-E Select has about a 220 mile range. It costs you about $39,995. And for an extra $3,000, you can step up to the premium, get up to about 320 miles range. The Mustang Mach-E GT gets you about 280 mile range, but it's going to cost you about $54,000. And the Mustang Mach-E Rally is going to cost you all the way up about $60,000 US and only gets you about 2.5 mile range, 260, 250 mile range, which isn't that all that exciting, isn't going to get you very far down the road before you have to stuck behind a big lineup trying to charge in and get that 45 minutes wasted while you wait for your vehicle to charge. And lease incentives are even more aggressive with $12,000 off. It's a great opportunity to get into it, try it, whittle it around, and then if you don't like it, you can pitch it. It actually gets you into a new model if it's leased for under $30,000. So we have another great example of while the Ford cannot sell these cars, we've got 13,000 units in inventory across the United States. People aren't buying them. And the only way to get people to buy them are incentivize them so aggressively that you almost can't resist the pricing because the pricing is quite agreeable. And then, of course, put those up against the Tesla Model Y. They're constantly playing back and forth. Who's going to be the lower of the bidder? And it keeps doing this bottom to the point where at some point they're just going to hit rock bottom. And it's bad enough that we've already heard the latest from Ford and their losses that they've seen in their E division is absolutely catastrophic. They've lost billions in this last quarter. And the only way they can make it up was the sales of their ICEs. So those people that are buying their brand new full-size Blue Oval trucks, that's right, the internal combustion vehicles, the Coyote engines, the turbo V6s that Ford is offering up, those vehicles are paying. That's why you're paying so much money. That's why you're paying so much more money for these internal combustion vehicles through Ford and the Blue Oval, is because they're a big part of the subsidization and paying for the development and the bird dog and the dogging of the electric vehicles. On top of that, the commercial division is picking up the lion's share of the company's and the organization's profits. Because if it weren't for the commercial side and the Blue Oval or the light truck division, they wouldn't have sales at all and the EVs would not happen. It would not be a thing. So Ford, in all of their desperation, continues to try to push their electric vehicle segment. And while they continue to experiment a little bit with their hybrids, and they got hybrid Mavericks, and now they're talking hybrid F-150s, and all of these vehicles that are sort of a halfway house, people are gravitating more to those as well. But to go full EV, there's way too few people that really want to try it. It's too much risk. Resales of the craps, and as well, it's just the charging station, range anxiety, battery replacement, insurance costs, heavier tires. All of those factors are reasons why people aren't buying them, and they have to give these new Mustang Mach-E's away. And with all of that said, be sure to check out right there, the cost of living crisis is still alive and well. What's going on? You'd think some of these OEMs would figure that out. Hope to see each and every one of you in the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.